Yummy.
We're the Nox
Boys.
We're a garage punk band. I think, I got exposed to garage rock from Bob. I mean, he showed me like Link Ray and like the Milkshakes and Billy Childish and a lot of the Get Hip stuff. And then, Sam eventually started listening to garage rock when we started listening to it. And then Mitchell kind of got the idea by now. He's getting into garage rock.
I mean, I always listen to the Offspring, Green Day, like pop
Yes,
punk.
Yeah,
but,
pop punk.
But no, my musical tastes have really grown since, because I love playing this genre more than pop punk or anything like that. This is much more fun to play.
Yeah, it's fun.
It's more raw. And it's a lot of 60s rock and roll influence as well. It's not all garage punk necessarily.
Yeah, it's like...
That's one of the strengths of the group too, is the eclectic sound, I think.
There's pop songs, there's psychedelic songs. Darlene Is Gone is a song that Bob wrote that's like a 8-minute psych song. Super weird, but it's a great song. It's
so much fun to play.
Yeah, it's the last track on the record.
It's a great way to close the album out.
Moondogs, open mic. I was hosting with a band, and Zach came in with his dad, and it just grew from there.
Yeah, well, that was my first show, playing Steelers training camp with Trobe. Just the first time we were just playing covers, and it just kind of went from there. Didn't know what was really going to come out of it, but we ended up continuing to play like places like Moondogs or local areas, and eventually we got in connection with Get Hip.
Yeah, we gave Get Hip a demo tape. We saw the Cynics with Me, Important People, and Neighbors, and I remember I had a demo tape that we recorded on a Tascam. It was like a 38 or something, one of those tape players, and I handed the tape to Michael at the show. And then Michael started talking about our band to Greg, and then Greg and Barbara just eventually got interested and started coming out to shows, and then we put out our first record on Get Hip. Jim Diamond recorded it. He recorded the Cynics, Sonics, Mudhoney, and the White Stripes. So we did that when we were back in high school.
It was a very surreal experience. It just happened in the span of 7 months.
It's all rock and roll.
The way it should be.
We got my cousin too. This is Mitchell. And then we used to play like Teenage Takeover, where we had like 300 kids in this like really weird like DIY venue, and just crammed them in there and just had a great time. And then Mitchell and I just started playing music together, and then we've had the hardest time with bass players, but we got this nice gentleman here with us today. Well, with this band, I think the four of us are dedicated. We're like a family band. Sam, explain your relationship to Bob.
Yeah, I mean, Bob is my uncle, but I'd say with this lineup, there's been it's just been smooth sailing ever since. I guess the hardest thing is just making sure we have everything together, But lately we are so good on stay on track with practicing and scheduling everything, scheduling around other events.
Scheduling would be probably the hardest part, because Bob plays with another band, Miss Freddie. You have your solo projects. We play in another band together, but I mean, as long as you're open, you communicate with each other. I mean,
everyone stays on the
practice
same track.
2-3 times a week, and
Yeah.
I got started rather late, actually, and just didn't know what a lap steel guitar was. And when I went to a show in DC and saw a blues guy playing lap steel, it just fascinated me. I had to go get one, and that's what happened.
My father had being as a child, I saw the Allman Brothers, a lot of blues acts. I mean, Moondogs, definitely I was here a lot. I've been here probably since I've been like, I don't know, probably 13, probably underage, sneaking in the clubs in different venues around the city. But definitely think my grandfather, I got into like Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, like old school stuff, but my dad kind of exposed me to like rock and roll and blues, and you know, from there, Bob definitely, you know, showed me the ropes of like garage rock and punk, and then I got into folk music. But I mean, seeing the Beatles on Ed Sullivan, seeing John Lennon play guitar on YouTube, and just getting in the Beatles and like the Velvet Underground at an early age definitely kept me going.
Sam?
All right. Well, my dad is also a drummer, so from a very early age, I was exposed to a lot of music and just seeing him play a lot. Or when I grew up in New York, I'd see a lot of the live shows going on. And I'd say, I mean, I started doing, you know, concert band like as early as 4th grade, and at some point in high school, I just kind of thought, you know, I'm starting to develop this ability to play, so I really should consider it, because I can't really think of anything else I want to do with my life, you know. But I was so into like, I really got into like Beatles, the Ramones, a lot of older artists, because my dad would always play like blues music or jazz or any other rock music, and I would just always be so into it and just be like tapping along to it, and that's what kept me going.
It's always been the only option for me. My dad was he was like a closet piano player and closet songwriter, never really did anything with it, but it was always around the house. And a big thing for when I realized like this is what I want to do is I saw Derek Christick is the drummer in Recluse, and he was my camp counselor when I was like 8 years old, and he had a band called Vinyl 6, and I would go and see them play all over, and it was just someone who I knew who was doing it, and that kind of showed me that I could do it, and that's what I've done ever since. You know?
That is a good question, but I'd say improving. I'd say we just gotta, you know, keep creating venues that everyone is welcome at, because all these music venues are closing for odd
But a
reasons.
lot of new ones are popping up.
A lot of new
Big
ones. A lot of new ones are popping up, but sometimes they don't always appeal to certain artists or genres of music. But if we, you know, continue creating that space, especially, you know, the issue of 21 and over, you know, so younger kids can't get into shows, which makes it harder, especially for the younger bands that are trying to play. You know, so if there's ways to get around that, then, you know, I'd say we'd be able to create a stronger scene.
Yeah, and also just these new venues popping up, I think, need to have a business model where they are able to pay artists.
Exactly.
You know, and that's the worst thing that I think people face here is promoters that don't want to pay and bands that are willing to play for nothing. And obviously, if you're going to play a show and no one's going to show up, obviously you're not going to get paid. But there needs to be some sort of structure there so that people are showing up, artists are getting paid, and venues are also making money. Because you see it happening all the time.
Yeah, and also, you know, bands and artists, whomever they are, they have to be supportive of each other. You know, I think the Pittsburgh scene is very supportive. I mean, growing up, a lot of indie bands and a lot of different musicians definitely taught me things about the industry and the music scene, and, you know, likewise to all of us, I think.
Yeah.
We're the Nox Boys from Nox, and Mr. Bones knows us.